Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Tuesdays. I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. I was down on the beach. I went to the Alabama-Florida State game with my 14-year-old, but I managed to get a little bit of sun on the final official weekend of summer, even though for those of us who live in the South, much of September and October can still feel summer-like, thankfully, so we will dive into all of the games of college football. Let me give you a little bit of a reminder. Let's say you happen to be a new fan of OutKick. Maybe you haven't spent time with us on the shows before. I know it's Tuesday because yesterday was Labor Day. Monday during the fall, during football season, is pretty much college football. I'm going to react almost exclusively to college football. Tuesday is almost exclusively NFL reaction day. So if you are out there and you're like, all I care about is football, this is for you. Monday, Tuesday, all fall long on OutKick the show is me diving into directly all the football you could possibly want, giving you all my takes, everything else. Later in the week, we'll dive into other stories, and obviously, if you don't want that, you got Clay and Buck. There's a lot of places you can come and hang out with me. If you, by chance, hate football, tough break, because this is a football show. And we begin with the entire landscape of college football. I am still writing the starting 11. Takes a lot of work. Thousands of words from me every single Sunday, breaking down everything that happened during the course of the college football weekend. It's called The Starting 11. You go follow me on Twitter. You won't miss it. You go follow me on Instagram. I'll try to share it. You follow me on Facebook. Everywhere you can go, you will find The Starting 11. And I would say, starting right off here, the biggest surprise that I saw of the weekend, by far, I saw it in person myself, was Florida State beating Alabama. And I got some stats for you on Alabama, and I will get to that in a moment. But first, congratulations to Seminole fans out there. You guys went through one of the most difficult transitions in the history of modern college football. You were 13-0. Feeling like, hey, we may have a chance at a national championship, to 2-10. Last year, disaster. I went on the road to this game. I had never been to Doak Campbell Stadium, never been to a football game in Tallahassee. Awesome time. They have remade the entire stadium. They have completely revitalized much of the stadium, and it is fantastic in all respects. We sat on the west side of the stadium, newly revitalized, newly rehabilitated, newly redone, and it is an awesome venue to watch a game. Crowd was electric. Let's go into the game itself before we talk about the larger issues associated with the game. I thought this game was decided early. Alabama looked good. Opening drive, very clinical, very precise, takes like 8 minutes, takes much of the crowd out of the game. Bama goes in, goes up 7-0. You could feel apprehension settling in inside of the stadium. Seminole faithful thinking, oh no, here we go again. I hope we just don't get embarrassed. You could feel that. 3rd and 11, about 3.5 minutes to go. Some of you will remember this situation. Alabama is typically a very good 3rd and long team in the Saban era. Quarterback Castellanos, who called out the Alabama defense, drops back to pass. True freshman corner is in. Squirrel White, transfer from Tennessee, one of many transfers to Florida State, runs right past the corner. Safety doesn't get there over the top. 40-yard gain, 1st and goal, next play, touchdown. We're tied at 7. Bama gets the ball back. Comes down, takes a sack on 3rd down. Ty Simpson does, and then attempts a 53-yard field goal. Comes up short. First quarter's basically over. We got a tie game. FSU comes back down, goes in up 17-7 at the half. Alabama is no longer the team that everyone was afraid of during the Nick Saban era. this is an average SEC football team since Kalen DeBoer took over. They are 9-5. They have lost 4 different games as a 14-plus point underdog. They have lost 4 different games to unranked teams, more than Nick Saban lost in his final 16 years. I got a couple of other stats for you that I shared in the starting 11 that I believe contextualizes just how rough the transition has been and why the sheen of Alabama dynasty is gone, and I think will be gone for a very, very long time. Let me hit you with this. My son was there. You can put up a picture. 14-year-old. Unfortunately, he has decided that he's an Alabama fan. I have talked with him. I have tried to tell him, you think that what you saw from Alabama is actually reflective of the history of Alabama. It is not. From 1983, after Bear Bryant died, to 2008, that's a full 25-year window. Alabama won 1 national title and just 3 SEC championships. I think the Tide may well be returning to its quest for a replacement, not only for Bear Bryant now, but also for Nick Saban, and it doesn't feel to me like Kalen DeBoer is the guy. There were lots of Alabama fans, some of you are watching this right now, who thought, oh my goodness, Alabama is never going to beat Tennessee. Phil Fulmer owned Alabama, went 9-1. If you were, let's say, an 8-year-old kid in 1995, you basically went your entire childhood with Tennessee whipping Alabama every year. This is a return to normalcy for the Tide. The Alabama Nick Saban dynasty was the aberration. Since 2007, games when Alabama was favored by at least 14 points. Nick Saban, 131-2. Kalen DeBoer, 4-4. Let me repeat that. In games when Alabama has been favored by at least 14 points, Nick Saban since 2007 was 131-2. Kalen DeBoer is 4-4. Since Alabama beat Georgia last year on September 27th, the Tide has gone 1-5 in away games or neutral site games, including losses to Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Michigan, and Florida State. All 4 of those teams were unranked. The only win, by the way, was on the road at LSU when Jalen Milroe ran for around 185 yards. Awful defensive performance by LSU in that game. Okay, so some of you out there say, where does this lead us, Clay? There are reports that there is a $70 million buyout for Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Tide can't afford to pay it. They cannot afford to pay a $70 million buyout on top of having to pay $20 million plus to all of the players, on top of also then having to go out and hire a new coach who would make $9 or $10 million. The money is just not there. So I don't think there is a quick fix for Alabama. I think they are stuck with Kalen DeBoer. The AP poll just came out in the last hour. Alabama fell to 21 in the AP poll. That is a 17-year low. And I think Alabama's actually lucky, based on the way they played against Florida State, to actually be still ranked. The memes were out of control. Here is one that went mega viral. It is Nick Saban as the original Cracker Barrel, Kalen DeBoer as the new Cracker Barrel logo. I don't believe most people are aware of how toxic the University of Alabama job was for much of the 25 years after Bear Bryant died. A lot of young guys and gals out there have absolutely no recognition of what it was like when Alabama wasn't a dynasty. In fact, social media hasn't even existed when Alabama is actually not very good at football. So I think they're in trouble. I expected this to be a win. I thought Alabama would go 9-3. I did not think they would lose to FSU. I think you look at that Alabama schedule, and there are a lot of landmines. And I'm not talking about the usual landmine game. I'm not talking about, hey, LSU is going to be a tough game. Yeah, Alabama fans know LSU is going to be a tough game. I'm not talking about, hey, it's going to be a really tough game for you guys when you go on the road against Auburn this year. Alabama fans are like, yeah, we know. Tennessee's won 2 out of 3. That's not a chip shot anymore. Listen to some of these games, okay? Because I think this is where things can get really tough for Kalen DeBoer. On the road against Georgia, if Alabama loses this game, and I think they will, then the Tide are in, and I know Alabama has owned Georgia by and large. Tide are in a really tough spot before we even get through September. And by the way, this is presuming that Alabama beats Wisconsin, that they don't fall completely apart against Louisiana Monroe or Vanderbilt. Circle this game. October 11th at Missouri. Alabama is going to lose that game. Again, I'm going to repeat it. Some of you are going to tell me, Clay, you're crazy. You have no idea what you're talking about. Missouri is going to beat Alabama in Columbia on October the 11th. That is going to be a huge win for Missouri. That's going to be the kind of game that Alabama fans are unable to understand how they lost. I think there is a very good chance that South Carolina beats Alabama in the other Columbia on October the 25th. And so I think right now, if you asked me who's going to win, Alabama or Auburn, I would pick Auburn on the Plains in Jordan-Hare Stadium on 11/29. What I am telling you is I think Alabama's going to go 8-4 or worse. I'm just predicting it right now. And again, I'm not even saying that Alabama's going to lose to LSU or Alabama's going to lose to Tennessee. That could certainly happen. I'm talking about games against teams like Auburn, against teams like South Carolina, against teams like Missouri. I'm not even getting into what happens at Georgia. I think 8-4 feels to me like the ceiling for Alabama this year based on what I saw. Now, they got dominated on the offensive and defensive lines. That's what I come back to. A lot of people focusing on Ty Simpson. Quarterback gets a lot of attention. I thought he played okay. Wasn't great, but was running for his life, avoided multiple sacks. This game was lost on the line of scrimmage. Guys, Alabama didn't turn the ball over and only scored 17 points. Think about that for a minute. If you don't turn the ball over and you only score 17 points, that's pretty hard to do. Usually, you are, if you're not turning the ball over and you are a top 25 caliber team, you're going to easily score into the 20s. That is alarming, okay? I think if I am an Alabama fan, I am in an uh-oh mindset. We're stuck with Kalen DeBoer. The team is not disciplined. Lots of penalties again. Lots of small errors. And they are trending towards 8-4. They are 9-5 through 14 games with Kalen DeBoer. Year 2, you did not see this massive jump. Everybody said, well, Nick Saban wasn't very good. Remember Louisiana Monroe? Remember how season 1 went with Nick Saban? Okay, season 2, Nick Saban, if I'm not mistaken, was 12-0 and lost in the SEC championship game to national championship, eventually winning Florida Gator Tim Tebow team. Year 2, 12-0. Year 2 now with Kalen DeBoer, I think Alabama's going to go 8-4. At best. Alarming, ominous. So that is my take. Congrats to the Seminoles on getting the big win. I thought that was the most shocking outcome week 1 college football. Second most shocking outcome. I don't know that it was shocking. Maybe I should say second most significant outcome, LSU's defensive performance on the road against Clemson. It is very, very hard to win on the road in college football against elite level competition. I'm not someone throwing that Clemson team on a funeral pyre here. I think they are going to be very good, potentially the best team in the ACC before all is said and done. LSU going on the road and to a large extent shutting down that veteran Clemson offense in the Battle of Death Valleys was a fantastic win. We knew Garrett Nussmeier was going to be okay. I don't think any LSU fan on the planet thought they would win this game. What was the final? 17-10? If you had told every LSU fan out there, hey, you're only going to score 17 points, almost every LSU fan would have bet the house that they were going to lose this game. Credit to the defense, the incredible performance they had there. That's why I have LSU as my number one team. I thought LSU, given the quality of the opponent on the road, had the best outcome of any team in college football in week one, and the defense made it happen for LSU. I picked before the season LSU-Texas as my SEC championship game. I'm sticking with it. Let's talk about Texas for a minute. Ohio State got the win. Texas held them to 205 total yards, 14 points. Texas got stopped, I believe, at the 3-yard line and the 1-yard line and lost by a touchdown. Everybody is raining down attacks on Arch right now. To me, Arch Manning was not great, but going on the road in that environment, I'm not willing to push the panic button for Texas. In a few weeks, Texas will go on the road in Gainesville, another tough road environment. I think they will play much better. I think Arch Manning is going to be fine. I didn't think his performance was anything near a disaster. If you had told Sark you're going to hold Ohio State to 205 total yards, 14 total points, I think he would have bet his whole season salary that they would have won this football game. And I actually thought Sark got a little bit conservative in the way that he responded in this game. Now, it felt a bit like a big NFL game to me when you know both teams are good and they're likely to meet in the postseason again. In other words, this felt to me like, hey, we've got an early season matchup between the Bills and the Chiefs, and we all know that eventually the Bills and the Chiefs are likely to meet again before the Super Bowl is crowned to determine who is the better team. It's an early test, but it's not a dispositive one in a 12-team playoff. Let me also mention, by the way, congrats to Brian Kelly for finally winning an opening week one game. I do think psychologically for LSU, having lost 5 straight openers, 3 straight under Brian Kelly, getting a win like this it has a propulsion factor associated with it. I do not feel the same way about this game for either Ohio State or for Texas. I feel like both teams kind of met. We saw they both had elite defenses, probably top 5, certainly top 10 caliber defenses. They now will go back, reassess, continue to work on getting better. And the question to me on Ohio State's side is Julian Sayin good enough? Because the wide receiving core you probably got at least 3 potential first-round players on the offensive side of the ball. Do you have a quarterback who can get the ball to them in an efficient fashion? I think that's the question. I feel better about where Arch Manning is going to be going forward than I do about where Julian Sayin may well be. Again, young quarterbacks. Miami, congrats to the U. The U had an electric environment, Hard Rock Stadium there. Brought out all the stars, Michael Irvin, Ray Lewis, Jimmy Johnson. All of the old school Miami guys were there, and they got a fantastic victory. We got Carson Beck from 2 years ago as opposed to Carson Beck from a year ago. Couple of incredible plays. I thought C.J. Carr was okay as a redshirt freshman starter. Better than Arch, better than Julian Sayin, better than most of the young quarterbacks in the road and big environment starts were this weekend. I think the Canes are back. The question for Mario Cristobal, not dissimilar to LSU, had been, is the defense good enough to hold up? I thought the defense, even though, 24-10, they gave up 2 touchdowns, I thought the defense showed up well for Miami. I thought they had a lot of playmakers. They could have put this game away earlier. I believe Marcus Freeman has built a good team at Notre Dame. And so I don't see this. I see this as similar to the Texas loss, where you've got an elite level matchup, 2 top 10 caliber teams. Now, I think Miami's back. It remains to be seen about Florida State. They definitely whipped Alabama in week 1. Miami gets the win over Notre Dame, and we'll see what happens with Clemson, but I think those 3 are head and shoulders above everybody else in the ACC. And I think going forward, The question for Notre Dame is, hey, can you be ready for Texas A&M? Because right now, Notre Dame does not play an incredibly difficult schedule. And if they start off 0-2, I think they've got a week off to get ready for A&M, if I'm not mistaken, in South Bend. If A&M were able to go there, Marcel Reed and company, and get the win in the second game for Notre Dame, I think you almost lose Notre Dame's ability to make the playoff. Now, I know Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year, but the pressure is ratcheted up massively going forward. I think college football is better when the U is good, when Notre Dame is good. Okay. Other things that I watched. South Carolina, let me hit you with, there's this narrative out there. People are saying, oh, well, the SEC is overrated, and it definitely took on a life of its own after Texas lost and after Alabama lost. Let me tell you something. I think the only team that looked really bad in week one in the SEC was Alabama. Losing on the road against the defending national champions 14-7 like Texas did while holding Ohio State to the lowest offensive yardage output in a decade is not some sort of awful indictment of Texas. I think the Longhorns are going to be fine. I've already talked about why I think Alabama is potentially in trouble going forward. I think the question out there is actually, why didn't the SEC get more credit for playing so many road neutral games when almost everybody else was playing at home? I think that's a real question that could be asked and should be asked. And let me hit you with the data on overall conference performances. SEC went 4-2, wins by Auburn. Who would have thought that Kalen DeBoer would be on a hotter seat in week 2 than Hugh Freeze? Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, and South Carolina all got wins. As we mentioned, Texas lost a close game. Alabama looked bad. Okay, but 4-2 in road neutral games. Big Ten went 2-1 in Power 4 matchups. ACC went 3-4. Big 12 went 2-3. So far from being awful. And by the way, the Big Ten and the ACC also had losses to non-Power 4 conference teams. The SEC teams went 14-2 overall in week 1. I think it's a really unfair criticism of the SEC, given the standard of basically the SEC is you have to go 15-1 or 16-0 in order to not be overrated. I think people got ahead of themselves and wanted to tap dance on the SEC's grave after the Texas-Alabama game, and then LSU comes back, Tennessee wins, South Carolina wins, Auburn won on Friday on the road against Baylor. I think the facts don't support the tap dancing on the grave. Let me go to Nico versus Joey Aguilar. Nico, so first of all with Tennessee, I thought Joey Aguilar worked in the Tennessee offensive system in a way that was somewhat similar to what we saw with Hendon Hooker. There was crispness to it. Tennessee's offense moved rapidly. Offense scored 38 points with a brand new quarterback there. 3 touchdowns for Joey Aguilar. 40 some odd rushing yards, 240 yards passing, whatever the heck it was. One really big 75-yard touchdown pass. Tennessee got up 17-0. Didn't play well necessarily for much of the third quarter, but what were they up? 38-17 a few minutes, or 38-14, I think, a few minutes into the game of the second half. This game was over, okay? So Tennessee and Aguilar will get tested on against Georgia in, what is the math, like 12 days from now, 11 days from now? We'll find out whether or not Tennessee is really capable of high-level performance with Aguilar. I think there is an argument to be made that Aguilar is a better fit for Heupel's offense than Nico was. Now, I went to the Florida State-Alabama game, drove home, watched Clemson and LSU finish, and then immediately flipped it over and watched the UCLA-Utah game in the Rose Bowl. We have a picture here. 35,000 people showed up. Look at that picture. Rose Bowl seats like 95,000. It's mostly empty. Most people didn't care. There are actually a lot of Utah fans that were there. I think Nico has gone to a worse team with worse coaching, with a tiny fan base, and I think what I saw on the field is he's going to struggle immensely because Josh Heupel got him in a situation where he could make primary reads more frequently. I turned it on, and he immediately missed a touchdown throw, which we saw happen at Tennessee a lot, and he looked oftentimes like a deer in headlights. Offensive line wasn't blocking very well for him. He was getting dominated. Eventually finished 11 for 22, 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 47 rushing yards. I think Nico is going to be the ultimate cautionary tale for NIL. There are some people that are going to go out and make massive amounts of money in NIL and be huge beneficiaries from the fact that the rules have changed. Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt is one. You don't have a huge NFL career. You can make millions of dollars now playing in college football. More power to you. I think Nico is going to be looked at a guy that was given bad advice by his family and advisors, took less money to go to a worse team with a coaching staff that is less likely to be able to get the best out of him. And ultimately, this is why young athletes and young people in general need adults to sometimes help shepherd them. I think Nico was led astray by the adults in his life. And my prediction is he's not going to have a good year. I hope that I'm wrong because I would prefer that, he get UCLA to 7-5 or something, 6-6. Nobody's going to watch his games. He is unlikely to take very many steps of evolution in a positive way in a new system at UCLA. I think they're going to blame UCLA at the end of the year. He's going to try to transfer, and his overall value is going to continue to decline. This feels inevitable to me. It feels like where we are headed. Positive for Utah. They looked phenomenal on both sides of the ball, and actually Devin Dampier, who looked a bit like Kyler Murray, ran circles around the UCLA defense. He looked like the new quarterback that actually is going to be able to put his team into a different category of excellence. In fact, if I had to buy stock for the remainder of the year on Dampier or on Nico, not a difficult call. If I had to buy stock in Joey Aguilar or Nico, not a difficult call. I think Tennessee benefited immensely and is more likely than not to be in a better position going forward with Aguilar than they would have with Nico. And again, I feel sad for what Nico has done, that he has put himself into this situation. The Utes look fantastic. I'll talk about them in a moment and give you a sense of how I would rank teams. Lee Corso. Goodbye to Lee Corso. Give credit to Fox and Game Day for both coming together. This is a picture I took from FSU where Lee Corso played, and they honored him at halftime during the game at FSU. And there you see the Lee Corso graphic up on the field. Lee Corso has a quote, "Football is just the vehicle. It's entertainment, sweetheart." I think that kind of gets at college football at its best. And also reminds us all that when you're talking about sports, we're not talking about the most important things in life. We're talking about the dessert of a meal. The sports is the toy chest of life. And I always try to remember that and not take for granted that I get to make a living to a large extent watching college football games and telling you what I think of them, writing about it. Trust me, I've been doing this for 21 years now, and I do not take it for granted. It's kind of interesting for me to think about now. There are college kids that I started writing online when they were born, and they're now able to drink a beer. That's a long time, right? I've gone from 25 to 46, and I don't take it for granted, and I appreciate all of you that have been reading. Some of you have been reading me for 20 years now. My top 10. I have got my top 10 here for all of you, and again, I encourage you. Oh, Bill Belichick. Sorry, we got to talk Belichick. I was wrong on this one. I thought that North Carolina would have a really good defense this season. I give credit to TCU. They came out and obliterated Belichick's team. And it did not look close, and this did not look like a team that's going to be able to compete at a very high level this year in the ACC. I was wrong on this one. I thought at a minimum, Belichick would have a good defensive game plan in place. They were not. They were absolutely destroyed, and I got that one wrong. Total whiff by me. I thought it would be a low-scoring game. I thought Belichick would take the air out of it. This was a complete failure, and the schedule is not brutal. I believe there's only one current top 25 team on the schedule, Clemson. So maybe there can be a bowl eligibility that is reached. But boy, UNC did not look like a decent team going forward. All right. With that in mind, here is my top 10. Now, a refresher. I only rank teams based on on-field results. I do not rank teams based on what I thought I was going to see, based on what I expected would be the outcome. I do not do it. With that in mind, I've got LSU as the number one overall team in college football. Best win, most difficult venue. I thought that LSU looked like the best team in week 1. 2, Ohio State. You beat Texas. Yes, the offense didn't look very good. Defense performed at an elite level. You protected the shoe. I've got Ohio State at 2. Miami. I've got the Hurricanes at 3. I am impressed with what I saw them do against Notre Dame. I liked this version of Carson Beck. He looked like the Carson Beck of 2 years ago. I think Carson Beck has the potential to be the Cam Ward of this season, which certainly is what Miami sold him on. Florida State, I've got at 4th. Complete domination out there from FSU to be able to make this happen. I give Florida State immense credit for their success in this space. I've got Utah going in at number 5. I mentioned the Utes on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, 43-10. Am I right about that? 43-10. Obliteration of UCLA on both sides. I was very impressed. Auburn. Hugh Freeze's team goes on the road. I don't think Baylor's a bad football team. Gets the win. I still have questions about whether Jackson Darnold can throw the football. He's got the ability to run. He's an athletic guy. I don't know if he has the arm, the playmaking ability with his arm. So I don't know what the ceiling is on Auburn, but that's a very good win. I've got Tennessee at 7. We talked about Nico versus Joey Aguilar. I've got the Gamecocks at 8. Really like what I saw from South Carolina. Defensively looked very good. They kept the momentum going with Shane Beamer's team that they finished with on an upswing. Lenore Sellers made a lot of plays with his legs. By the way, late Virginia Tech, do you think maybe, possibly, defensively you could have just focused on trying to stop Lenore Sellers from being able to run the football? Seems like a reasonable position. TCU 9, big win over UNC. South Florida 10, dominated. Alex Golish's team did against Boise State. At 11, I would have Georgia Tech for the win that they got behind Haynes King, their quarterback, on the road against Colorado. So that is my overall take as it pertains to basically everything that happened in the world of college football. I know I'm getting old. I wrote about this a bit. I had the best parking spot imaginable. I drove over with my 14-year-old son from the Gulf of America, where I spent the weekend for Labor Day. Easy drive into Tallahassee. Spectacular parking place. I know I'm getting old because I backed in and I was like, man, I'm going to be able to get out of here so fast. We're going to be able to get back home so quickly. It was a 2-hour drive over and back on Saturday. Had an awesome time with my 14-year-old. Met a lot of you out there at the event. It was a great deal of fun. Again, stadium newly revitalized, newly redone. We sat there, had an awesome time. Good when the Chief Osceola comes out and puts down the flaming spear. It was an electric scene. My goal is to try to get to as many college football venues as I can. I've been to every SEC stadium. I wrote a book, obviously, back in the day when there were 12 SEC teams. I've been to every SEC venue except for Oklahoma. I have been to a lot of ACC, Big 12, Big 10 venues. I had never been to FSU before. Highly recommend the trip. At some point, if you are a big college football fan, I think you should put FSU certainly on your list. There's still a lot of places I need to go, but I am fortunate to have gotten to go to big games. Most of the biggest venues in college football. Still some I need to check off the list and look forward to doing that. Do we do a Prize Picks read? Is that what I'm seeing it on the side of the screen for? If you want to go to Prize Picks, you can go and you can get hooked up right now. Easy. We're going to give you picks on Thursday for the NFL action. We'll get you hooked up. You can play in Texas. You can play in California. You can play in Florida. You can play in Georgia if you're feeling left out. 40-plus states. Use code OutKick. You get $50 when you play $5. Super easy to play. Code OutKick, $50 when you play $5. We'll give you picks on Thursday. Hopefully, we will be able to win you some money. And again, you can play in California. You can play in Texas. You can play in Georgia. You can play in Florida. Play in my home state of Tennessee. 40-some-odd states. 13 million people playing. Get hooked up today. PrizePicks.com. Code OutKick. Is there anything else? Let me check the news. Make sure that there's nothing else. I'd encourage you guys to go read the starting 11 as it will be up all the time. And I appreciate all of you hanging out today. And lots to discuss going forward. Oh, let me play this. Air Jordon very well. Very good take from North Carolina. This was a take on the Air Jordan logo. Jordon Hudson is the 24-year-old girlfriend of Bill Belichick. To put this relationship into perspective, I think the pressure on Belichick is going to get ratcheted up. If you win, nobody cares about any of this. If you lose, a lot of people start to ask the question, is his focus all there? Is this still the same guy? To put it into perspective, Bill Belichick with a 24-year-old girlfriend. I am 46. That would be like me dating someone who is not going to be born yet for 3 more years. Belichick was 49 when his girlfriend was born. He was 50 when she was 1. Yeah, a little nerve-wracking there. We got some YouTube questions. Let me make sure and see what those questions are. Sorry, evidently I said Jackson Darnold. I meant Jackson Arnold. Somewhat similar names. Okay. Does anyone else miss the I Hate Clay Travis segment? I don't get that much hate. I don't know. I mean, you guys are certainly, who go into the comments, you guys can grab questions from people who hate me. I don't run and hide from them. I just don't get very many anymore. I mean, people are like, you're fat, you're ugly. I mean, every now and then I get that stuff. But I used to get so much more negativity. We do have, you want a hate mail? Let's pull this up. This was a guy, somebody emailed me, and I'll pull this up so I can look at it. If you like hate mail, I shared this. I don't get that much hate mail anymore. But this was hate mail that I got that I shared. Let me make sure that I can read it. Let's see, Brian said, "You're a loathsome idiot, aren't you?" That was the subject of the email. I didn't know what a Clay Travis was until today. I wish I still didn't. You're a pretty repulsive creature. I got that on Labor Day, and I was like, what did I do to kind of create this email? I don't even remember even being particularly loathsome or repulsive. But I emailed him back. This is 100% real. Thanks for the email, Brian. I've been trying to reach new audiences. Can you let me know how you found me after not knowing about me for the past 20 years? I want to do more of it. Your pal, Clay. And then Brian was not happy. He responded, "Was this response written by a grown adult?" And then I responded, we're pen pals. "Yes, I deeply value your opinion and would like to learn from your media consumption habits. I don't regularly talk to men without functional penises, and I'm just curious where you guys can congregate online." I mean, you can only watch MSNBC for so many hours in one day. Am I right? Your pal, Clay. So there you go. If you miss people who hate me, I just don't get that much negativity anymore. Okay, and let's see. Bill Belichick taps out middle of the season. I asked the question, who's going to last longer? Is it going to be Kalen DeBoer at Alabama or Bill Belichick at UNC? I actually think the answer is clearly Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. But 60% of you think that Belichick's going to last longer. So that's how little optimism there is about Kalen DeBoer. Save money. Replace Burke with a potted plant. What is this in reference to? I don't remember. That is from Paul Marshall. What is that story in reference to? I can't keep up with all the things. You got to be more specific in the questions. I can't even remember what exactly that is referencing. Oh, Doris Burke. Oh, okay. Yes, Doris Burke. You got to give me full names. Like, I don't know. The head of ESPN's name is Burke Magnus. So, one of the heads. So, I can't even keep track. Okay, yeah, Doris Burke. I need full names in the comments. Yeah, Doris Burke, DEI, promotion that did not go well. ESPN has moved on from her. All right. Love all of you. I'll be back live tomorrow. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis, and this has been OutKick, the show.